أنا طلبوا مني الإخوان أن نتكلم باللغة الإنجليزية. I'll be speaking shortly in English. بس I want to speak for Arabic a little bit. طبعا أنا تربطني علاقة جدا حميمة بسابك. علاقة ترجع ما أقول لكم كم، بعدين تقدرون تلعبون guess game بالأعمار وكذا، بس عقود. أنا من الناس اللي أفتخر فيهم جدا، واحد الرول مودلز في حياتي طبعا الوالد ثم خالي. هذا لقاء أخوي، فذكروا لي الإخوان أني حتكلم بصفة شخصية. أنا خالي الدكتور مؤيد القرطاس. فخالي من عقود قليلة، خلينا نسميها صغرى شوي، كان يحكي لي دائما عن قصة المبدعين في سابك. كان دائما يحكي لي إن هذه الشركة اللي استطاعت تأخذ تحدي من عقود، إنها بإمكانها بأيدي سعودية وبتقنية سعودية وبقيادة سعودية صناعة المستحيل. وتشرفت العام الماضي في برشلونة بتسليط الضوء عليها، فأصالة عن نفسي ونيابة عن خالي بيض الله وجهكم واحد واحد. I'll switch to English right now. So first of all, I want to thank Abdallah and Abu Mansour for the kind invitation. And I want to have with you today a dialogue, so we will leave some room for Q&A later on. But honestly speaking, if you look at the slides, if we can start with them, the title today is Disrupt or Be Disrupted. And I'm here to talk to you about disruptive chemistry. Because if you talk to Babson College, it's projected in the next 10 years that 60% of Fortune 500 companies will not exist. The World Economic Forum, as a matter of fact, predicts over the next 5 years, this rate of acceleration and disruption is going to be so big. And I'm going to share with you a story so we can draw a parallel. And a lot of times, history is a great predictor of the future. So this is a story about disruptive chemistry. And I know that the codec story of this story have been overused so many times. But there's another story with Fuji film. And this story has to do with a chemical called collagen, or more of a protein. And I'll come to it shortly. So Kodak, in short, were the leader in filmmaking. They started the first digital camera, and they started actually in the 70s. They actually developed the first social media platform for actually sharing pictures. So they were not customer-centric, they were photocentric, and that was one of their biggest mistakes. And if you look at any digital transformation, it has three types of values. There's an experience value, there's a platform value, and there's a cost value. And across the board, Kodak missed the board on a number of fronts. They kept the digital camera in the drawer. The photo approach missed the boat, and then they went to bankruptcy. Now let's look at the more interesting story, which is Fujifilm. Now Fujifilm, a completely different story, and it's very relevant to you, and I'll share with you shortly. They have predicted that the digital camera is going to disrupt them. And they predicted that the digital camera is not good enough to compete with the evolution of the smartphone. So what they have realized that they have to look at their people, their processes, their technology, and the data to transform their business. And what they have found was something very astonishing. They have found they had the best R&D capability and scientists and know-how in how to use collagen for preserving film. And what was astonishing is that they can repurpose collagen with antioxidants and nanotechnology to release one of the largest cosmetic business globally, Astalift. So the same chemicals that preserve film were good enough to preserve human skin with anti-aging solutions. So if we go back to Kodak, while Kodak was doubling down late in the cycle in R&D in digital in 2000, by the year 2001, film was representing 2/3 of their profit. By 2017, it's 1%. And in parallel, they have doubled their revenues with a cosmetic line. This is digital transformation. Anybody here thinks that I was here to talk to you about technology was mistaken. Digital transformation is all about disrupting business models, leveraging digital, physical, and bio. So it's very critical that we keep this story in line. Now, to frame this, if I was a board member in Sابك, this is the dialogue I'm going to have with you. There are some businesses that are commoditized, where margins are under pressure. Supply and chain dynamics, the US-Chinese trade war, Brexit, there's a lot of price pressures. So there are some businesses that at one point there's a value vampire that will capture the value that we have. A startup, a small enterprise, and that's the business where we harvest. So I'll be having a dialogue with the board, with the executive management. What are the businesses that we're going to trim and consolidate to make sure that we can have some cushions against some of the disruption that is happening? There are some businesses, so if I go to the defensive approach of business transformation, there are some businesses where it doesn't make any sense. It's the film industry. It's going to go from 2001 of 2/3 to 2017 to 1% of our profits. It's dying. I have to immediately and surgically repurpose those folks that understand collagen so well to protect film, to protect skin. And those are the businesses that I'll be asking Sابك in my board, and they were too kind to tell me I can be direct with you today. What are the businesses that over the next 10 years we're going to divest from? Because it's being commoditized, because it doesn't fit the new Sابك, where they have chemistry that matters, where the future is our frontier. So that's the downside of digital transformation. But there's a good side. The good side is on the offensive. So what are the expertise, the R&Ds, the leadership, the DNA that Sابك has that we could repurpose immediately to capture the next $12 billion opportunity, the next Asta lift? What are the other opportunities that we can go and aquapy? And this is where Fujifilm, nobody knows this, but today they are in consumer electronics. Today they are in the medical field and in other adjacent services. And that is one of the key highlights should be today of this offsite. We should have this candid conversation about what are the next $1 billion, $5 billion, $10 billion opportunities that we're going to gear our best leadership, our best thinkers to go and capture. I have some good news for you. I know I was a little bit maybe too assertive, or Dr. Yusuf said to me today this morning, don't be too aggressive. I said to him, fair, I'll be assertive. The good news is that in the midst of this transformation, you're in a good, safe place. Because if we look at the digital vortex, the industries that will be sucked by this digital transformation, if you look at it, the projection, and remember, this is projection. So many times, they're off the mark. But directionally, the first services that will be disrupted is media and entertainment, in tech and services, telecommunication, and then we go to manufacturing. Because there's the barrier of entry is very high, there's an R&D spent to be exposed to. So we're in a good, pretty shape. So if some companies I project they're going to disappear in the next 5 years, I think some of your elements will disappear in 5 years if we don't change and disrupt ourselves. But there's some good news. You have some headroom. Now, more assertive dialogue. While I'm not an expert in these, and I'm sure any of you can beat me at any of these fields, all I can tell you is that when I asked my team, what's happening globally for the petrochem industry? They said to me today, no matter what you look at it, whether you're looking at methane, ethane, propylene, all of these different products lines, there are pricing pressures. So to me, suggests to me that the theme in 2019, moving into 2020 for this offsite, should be how we're going to harvest, retreat, and disrupt. And I was told that this is the senior executive leadership team that I'm fully confident that can make those decisions. But once again, some things we need to have an evolution rather than a revolution. So maybe on the retreat space, it's maybe a 10-year journey, so we can ease it off. On the harvest, it's a 5-year journey, but on the disrupt, it has to happen today and yesterday. So here's food for thought, and I'm going to leave this slide later on for the Q&A, because I really, there's one thing I want everybody to remember. I personally project in the next 5 years, if any company does not transform digitally, it's gone. And it's going to be on the downward spiral, nosedive, moving forward. And you can quote me on that. So it's very critical for us to know that we live today in a world, people are already talking about the 5th industrial revolution. And we're still debating whether the 4th industrial revolution is real. So what we need to do, so from a government standpoint, we're moving as a government from red tape to red carpet. You've heard that from me before. We're becoming citizen-centric. We are moving from command and control, Fawji, that's the first word I heard 2 years and a half ago, to how can I help? How can we partner? To Abdullah picking up the phone, can you come to this offsite? Done. How can we move from an ecosystem? I hate the ego is the enemy, by the way. If there are any egos in this room, it's very toxic, no matter how good you are. I don't care. In my boards, in my leadership offsites, and you asked me to be assertive today, if there are any egos in the room, they can jump the ship. Because there's three levels of intelligence. There's IQ, EQ, and PQ. Anybody who thinks IQ keeps you on the board is mistaken. IQ only is good for one thing and one thing only, getting a job. That's it. Your ability to interview when you were early in career to demonstrate that you have good problem-solving skills, good analytical skills, good enough. We know that you could always leverage that, but not in a leadership capacity. Because if you're the person on the table trying to be showing everybody how smart you are, you're going to kill the 3,000 IQ percentage points on the table, no matter how much is your IQ. What's the most critical IQ or intelligence that we're looking for in leadership is emotional intelligence. It's how can you be an aggregator of intelligence? How can you manifest this intelligence and propel it? And last but not least is what they call political intelligence, or in some context, social intelligence, how you could rally people beyond your influence and control for your cause. And these are the 3 types. So if the government is transforming, I am seeing some businesses not catching up with government. What's going on? You cannot talk to me today about ERP. ERP is systems of records. That's yesterday. You talk to me about systems of engagement. How you're engaging your suppliers, how you're engaging your customers, how you're taking value from that data, translating it into information, into wisdom, into action. If you keep it as a transactional record type of relationship, you're going to be gone because you're not harvesting the value of data. And today, one of the second things I've observed still in businesses is silos. And I think the role of the chairman, the vice chairman, and the CEO is silo busting. If there are any internal politics in an organization or people that do not want to work with each other, it's both of your responsibilities to either help them shape up or shape out. To wrap up, you need to consider the following. Legacy leadership, command and control is over. Today, it's all about being entrepreneurial, even in a company as big as Sابك. For your early in careers, STEM, STEAM, you want to add a D with design, I don't care. Those are the few things that you have to focus on. And I mentioned it, emotional intelligence is the most critical type of intelligence for a leader. And last but not least, stop living in analog. Live in artificial intelligence, where everything is cognitive, where data drives business, drives growth, and moving forward. Going back to my story, so now I'll share it a little bit in English. My uncle was one of the founders of R&D in Sابك, so for the English speakers. He said to me, if there's one thing that I dream you deliver today, is help me motivate and rally those most amazing leaders in how can we commercialize those critical assets that we have. So I want to thank you so much for your time.